That's not terrifying. Oh, crud. Oh, crud. Oh, crud. Hello, fellow anime geeks, and welcome to another review on my quest to try every anime series. We got a lot of really good stuff this last spring season, but honestly, I've been having kind of a hard time getting through it all because everything that I've tried is either like weirdly pervy or so dark and depressing I just end up curled up in a puddle of my own tears. And today's depressing anime is Mars Red. Guys, I actually geeked out so hard over this anime that I took twice the normal amount of notes that I take over the things that I want to talk to you guys about. So I'm gonna try my best to focus and stay on track with my usual 4-question structure, but no promises. The mal tags are action, military, historical, supernatural, and vampire, and all of those are selling this anime short because Mars Red is actually a tragedy. A big Shakespeare referencing, Greek tragedy emulating, semi-operatic, and actually somewhat meta tragedy, complete with orchestral component that rises to the foreground whenever there's soliloquy or some sort of like plot significant scene, full plot advancement through dialogue, and so many references to classical works while in and of itself being an homage to said classical works. It felt like I was watching Ready Player One, but like for classics geeks. But there is actually an anime that this reminds me of, and that's Baccano. The same sort of secretive underground vampires that have integrated into human society, the historical aspect, the fun press duo that adds some sort of comic relief to the heavy story, but actually ends up being an integral part of the plot, all of the different players, all with different motivations, acting simultaneously, all of the different connections, and the method of showing the audience all of these significant scenes, but out of sequence. I mean, I found myself tearing up for things that were about to happen, things that did happen, and then 2 or 3 more times after that because I hadn't realized all of the things that were happening when they were happening. Happening. Like many of the works that this anime references, and a lot of the emo type anime that I used to watch a lot in my teens, this has a very stoic protagonist. He leads this covert military unit in charge of monitoring and fighting the unruly vampires of Japan's underground supernatural society at the turn of the 20th century. But like a lot of the works that this is emulating and a lot of those same emo anime that I mentioned, we actually spend the majority of the time in conversation between characters that are surrounding our protagonist. Remember all of those conversations we had to sit through in Witch Hunter Robin that were just like back to jazzy BGM music? Ding, 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 ding. But all of these moments of seeming inactivity are actually punctuated by significance, and they end up culminating in this big final act where everything quickly comes together in a soliloquized climax of huge dramatic turns and a bequeathing of the future to innocence and justice. I told you this was operatic. In the beginning, I honestly felt a little bit dubious as to what we were gonna get when I found out that the source material for this was a play meant for stage reading, but we ended up getting the best of both worlds. All of the conversations and dialogue that were very intelligently crafted to create very like natural character development, exposition, and plot advancement, but then we were also able to like see stuff, you know, like big events, the historical setting, the underground world, key images for illusion and foreshadowing, and simply the tone. I actually have quite a few notes on the world building and storytelling devices of Mars Red and how good I thought that they were, but in the essence of time, I don't want to leave the originality category without mentioning the sheer number of classical references in this show. Of course, there's a lot of Shakespeare, but in particular Hamlet, and I actually think that that's really cool because not only are there some parallels in the plot, but one of the very first things that this made me think of with all of the conversations between characters while big events were happening is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. The main theatrical reference that is tied to the central plotline is Salome, which I'm unfortunately not too familiar with that work, but I do think that it's really cool that they would choose a controversial work for the time period that they're trying to portray. we'll just have to ignore the fact that it didn't actually reach Japan until like 1960, but I mean, I don't know, maybe the opera version got there first. And I have to say, they had me as soon as they mentioned my absolute, like one of my absolute favorite stories of all time, Cyrano de Bergerac, and then they jokingly compared themselves to that story to kind of reference or foreshadow their own genre in a very meta move. Well done, Marge Red. Well done. So obviously I think that it's worthwhile, and I didn't even get to delve into the beautiful opening or those funky 1-minute shorts that you can actually watch on their live chart, by the way. But okay, do I think that a lot of people are gonna think that this anime is boring? Yes. Has it overtaken Blood Plus as my favorite vampire-related anime? No. Is it really basically just a love letter to classical theater, and in some cases so derivative of those theatrics that it just ends up coming off as kind of cheesy? Yes and yes, but isn't it so neat that the anime medium is being used to adapt a play? I mean, this last season even had an epic and a dystopia. I really love that the anime medium, which I'm passionate about, is being used to portray such like serious works. And on that note, I'll catch you in the next video. Ding 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 ding. Okay, that's the whole BGM for that anime. What? 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 Oh, okay, so he's okay. Oh. What if, okay.